Alright folks, hello again, welcome back to my channel, Kujiro from Gaming and Japan here, and in today's video guys, I'm going to talk about the game that I haven't talked about on my channel, and that is Cyberpunk 2077. I know that the game is very controversial, very divisive, and very criticized, and I would say rightfully so. But a couple of days ago, the game was re-released again on PlayStation, and after that happened, even though it sounded like it was the good news, there was a controversy about that in zero point 0.5 seconds of time. And I really want to talk about that because it shows I would say, the disastrous state that this game is in which uh, even when you have actual good news about the game, it turns out that they're also mixed with bad news. So it looks like this game and its team and its fandom, to what extent some people have left still playing the game or still actually liking the game. I'm not meaning people that have just finished the game and that have moved on. People that want to see this game succeed, they just can't catch a break with this title. Like, this is the thing that I want to show you, just a second. So I bought the game initially on launch, and after it was removed, I never really finished it because I was very disappointed in a couple of things. So one of them in particular was how annoying it is to always have to look at the loot when you pick it up. But here is the important thing that steered the controversy, in my opinion. So the game is released on PlayStation, and there is an important notice in the description. Users continue to experience performance issues with this game. Purchase for use on PS4 systems is not recommended, but the game is on PS4, so it's released again, but it's not fixed again. And there is, on top of that, there is also a excuse in the description of the game, which is kind of like controversial. For the best Cyberpunk experience on PlayStation, play on PS4 Pro and on PS5 systems. Okay, so I bought the game on PS4 Pro and I still had some issues there, so still haven't played on the PS5, but I'm not into the mood to play the game right now. But I I cannot really recall any other title. Even guys, Fallout 76, with all its problems and poor state of release, even on PC, where uh, people with high-end PCs experience problems. There were also problems on console, of course. Even that game wasn't retracted from the store, but Cyberpunk was retracted. And I seriously cannot recall any controversy about a video game. I'm talking about the release of video game, not just gaming industry controversies, but a game that has become so toxic as a point of conversation. Because you have to understand, guys, that the main thing here is that all of the problems of the game on its release date created really divisive conversations between the gamers themselves. It was not that people were disappointed of the game. It was that people were constantly arguing against each other. And I work as a community manager, not for Cyberpunk, of course. I'm glad that I don't have to do it, but for other titles, and I'm watching these things all the time. And when this game was released, much more than The Last of Us 2 or No Man's Sky or Battlefield 5 or Fallout 76 or uh, any other controversy that you can remember, there were constantly people yelling at each other for all kinds of different things. So first we had the PC elites, the PC master race versus console players, in which the master race people were using this as a crutch to say, ha ha ha, look at you console peasants, and people were on consoles or on the other hand trying to get refunds. And then you had the thing where CD Projekt Red and Sony were trying to kind of like pass the toxic ball at each other while people were waiting for actual resolution that the game was removed. And every cycle of bad news about the game is just restarting the arguing in the gaming community even more. So it's I hate to use this word. It's really a toxic stew that the title has created, and really it wiped out the good reputation of CD Projekt, in my opinion. Oh, there were also another group of people like the CD Projekt Red gatekeeping defenders, like hardcore Witcher players that were defending the company to no end, against people that were just enjoying the drama and were making fun of them and making fun of like how in denial they are. So again, every time something like this happens, it starts the conversation all over again. There are also the gaming journalists and the YouTubers that are reporting on the drama for the views and clicks, of course. And I know it's a rhyme because I'm also making a video about this, but this game cannot really catch a break. And now what I want to do is, I never really before, I watched it once before I started making the video, but I never really watched the explanation that they have released in the beginning of the year, because at that point I just didn't care about the game at all. Although I like the genre, I wanted Cyberpunk to succeed, but I don't know, like it's a disappointing that there are way more enjoyable Cyberpunk games out there, guys. I mean, I'm not going to release them right now, but for now, let's just jump in and watch Marcin Iwinski's explanation on this. I have a lot to say on his comments.
Hey everyone, my name is Marcin Iwinski and I'm the co-founder of CD Projekt. When I started
Okay.
CD Projekt 25 years ago, one of its founding principles was honest and direct communication with gamers. When CD Projekt Red, the game development
I'm gonna keep that in mind for some of his later commentary.
part of CD Projekt was born, it added something important to that principle, the ambition to make the best games in the world. It became our mission and something that guided us up until now.
Okay.
Based on that legacy of genuine and honest communication, you've trusted us and pre-ordered our game. And despite good...
Okay, I actually haven't pre-ordered the game when I had it. I bought it on launch date, but as a general rule, I don't think like... Yes, there was a lot of hype about the game, but I still think pre-ordering like titles that were delayed, I don't know, like 2 or 3 times, and that are kind of like a new IP, is a little bit risky. But still, it's CD Projekt Red, so I think a lot of people were really caught off guard, including me, but I still didn't pre-order the game.
Reviews on PC, the console version of Cyberpunk 2077 did not meet the quality standard we wanted it to meet.
Yes, but he's right that it didn't meet the quality standard, but the game was still released, and if it didn't meet the quality standard, maybe it should have been delayed for console, or at least for... Yeah, they cannot delay it only on the regular PS4, they have to delay it on console overall, so they could have done that, in my opinion. And if the game have turned out to be really good and exciting, maybe it would have inspired people to buy the game at a later date on console, because like console players will get to like enjoy the game that is so hyped and like so talked about by everyone else. But if it's actually without all of its issues and bugs and like annoying things in it, so yeah, it they could have delayed it on console in my opinion.
I and the entire leadership team are deeply sorry for this, and this video is me publicly owning up to that. Please don't fault
Okay.
any of our teams for what happened. They all are incredibly talented and hardworking.
Okay, I personally don't fault any of the team and the individual developers, of course, but as a company, their decision to release the game in that state and not delay it either on console or just overall as a release is their own mistake, and people paid money for this, so they still deserve to be criticized, although like going into the field of harassment or like personal remarks against the developers. I mean, I know a lot of game developers. I work in the field of video games, and this dude looks like a cool guy that is really passionate about the game. So I would never kind of like hold it personally against him, but still the criticism is well deserved, and it shouldn't be a surprise for them, I think.
Myself and the board are the final decision makers, and it was our call to release the game.
Okay, so if him and the board are the final decision makers, maybe people can criticize them, but you cannot. If someone like I'm attacking an individual developer because they don't know he's just a developer of the studio, it's also you can't really fault them that much because they don't really know the board. They see only this dude, and probably some of the people from CD Projekt Red have Twitter accounts and stuff. I know some people that used to work there because I'm from Eastern Europe. CD Projekt Red is in Poland, of course, and yeah, I know some people that work there, and they're really cool guys. But again, the criticism is well deserved for this game and for the people that made it. So I don't know what he expects actually.
Although, believe me, we never ever intended for anything like this to happen.
Okay, dude, like, why do you even say this? Like, you didn't intend for this to happen? Like, what the game in the state it was released came to you from the heavens or something? Like, why do you even say this? I don't understand.
I assure you that we'll do our best to regain your trust. Now I'd like to tell you how the situation looked like from the inside.
Okay.
Cyberpunk 2077 is huge in scope, and I'm not only talking about quests or things you see at first glance. I'm talking about a multitude of custom objects, interacting systems, and mechanics.
Okay. He's probably. I'm not a developer, so I'm not going to comment on the technicals that he's talking about. But when he says the game is huge in scope, like guys, the game can be finished in 30 to 40 hours, something like that. So like many other games in that time frame, so it's nothing particularly groundbreaking in terms of the final gameplay time. So, and after people have finished playing the game, I mean, people that have somehow pushed through it, even despite all its problems. Some of its problems are still on PC, by the way, with like the uh, corrupted files and stuff like that. So, um, but even people who have finished the game are not going back to it to watch its spectacular visuals and moving objects and stuff like that. So when people finish the game, again, in the span of 30 to 40 hours, like many other titles, all of these technical wonders that are in the game that he's talking about are not something that is enticing people to come back to the game. So um, maybe you should have done a better job of creating more actual content that people can enjoy rather than wow, look at how many moving objects are there and how many flashy, cool uh, effects and uh, like particles and textures and stuff are in there, rather than if the game doesn't work well, all of these things doesn't really matter that he's talking about.
In the game, everything is not stretched out over flat terrain where we can make things less taxing hardware-wise, but
Okay.
condensed in one big city and in a relatively loading-free environment. On its own,
Okay.
this is a challenge, but we made it even more difficult for ourselves by wanting to make the game look epic on PCs and then adjusting it to consoles, especially old gens.
Okay, dude. There is no way he doesn't know that as of the time of the end of 2020, PlayStation 4 had over 100 million units of install base. That doesn't mean that every single one of these people is going to play the game necessarily, but it's a huge install base. So even though they want to make it epic on PC or whatever, they should have seriously considered how that many millions of people that were hyped about, rightfully so, were hyped about the game, are going to react when the game is released in a poor state. So again, maybe they should have just delayed the console release or the overall release. And I know that I'm sounding here like a console peasant or something like that. I just wanted the game to succeed. I like the cyberpunk genre of video games, although I have a lot of cyberpunk games. But his excuse there just doesn't sound very convincing in some aspects for me personally. And it's not a personal attack on him, of course. It's just he should have constructed his arguments better, in my opinion.
That was our core assumption, and things did not look super difficult at first. We knew the hardware gap, yes, but ultimately, I think that time has proven that we've underestimated the task. To give a concrete example, and the main culprit, we had to constantly improve our in-game streaming system for all gen consoles. Streaming is responsible for feeding the engine with what you see on screen, as well as the game mechanics. And since the city is so packed and the disk bandwidth of all gens is what it is, it constantly challenged us. Every change and improvement needed to be tested, and as it turned out, our testing did not show a big part of the issues you experience while playing the game. As we got closer to the final release, we saw significant improvements each and every day, and we really believed we would deliver in the final day zero update. Now let's talk about the review process.
Okay, I wanna point out something that he mentions there that I think from a PR perspective is not a very good idea. So he says couple of times old gen consoles. Like, guys, let's be clear about something here, okay? The game was released on March 10th of 2020, right? The old gen consoles were, from that perspective, were only out for a month. Like, PS5 was released on November 12th, I believe, and the Xbox Series X was released on November 10th. So, from the perspective of regular people that play video games, the next gen consoles at the time of the release were only next gen for a month. That's like, you cannot say to people that hundreds of millions of people that own the old gen consoles that they kind of like owners of a older hardware and are kind of like behind what is currently the best newest shiny thing in console gaming, because it's only been a month. Like, even right now the new generation of console hasn't been out for even a year, and the release of Cyberpunk was on December 10th, right? So maybe he should have just said the 8th generation of consoles, all right, instead of just saying old consoles or old gen or something like that, because from the perspective of the release of the game, the PS4 and the Xbox One were still like for the most part, in practice, were current gen. And also, he very well, I'm sure, knows that people on release weren't able to even buy the next gen consoles that easily. So that's an additional argument to not exactly use this type of language, in my opinion. Please let me know what you think down in the comment section below, by the way. I think these the way he constructs his arguments are leaving something to be desired, in my opinion.
Started sending our PC review keys in the first days of December. On launch day, December 10th, we hit the ground running with a really good start on PC.
Okay, the game still had... What happened?
Let's talk about the review process. We started sending our PC review
The game still had some problems on launch on PC, guys.
keys in the first days of December. On launch day, December 10th, we hit the ground running with a really good start on PC. While not perfect, it's a version of Cyberpunk we are very proud of. At the same time, we're fighting for quality on all-gen consoles till the very last moment.
Okay, dude, the game was delayed 2 times. I'm going to repeat this one more time. The game was delayed more than enough for you to have enough time to make the optimization process on console. So when he's talking about the review process and the review codes release for people on console and on PC, like couple of days at the end would not have made a difference. They should have just delayed the game more. I don't think people would have hold it against them if the game turned out to be actually good in the end, but not like this.
And every extra day of us working on the Day Zero update brought visible improvement. This is why we started sending console review keys on the 8th of December.
Okay, dude. From the perspective of what he said in the beginning of the video, how they value transparency and how they are always honest with its fans and people that buy the games and people that are fans of the studio. There is no way for me to believe that what he's saying there is a genuine, honest argument. They said that they have sent the review codes for console on the 8th, but that was so that people could have played the best version of the game and not because people would have seen that the game is garbage on console. Like, there is no way for me to believe what he's saying is true. I know that maybe in the whole debacle story about Cyberpunk, there are a lot of evidence and a lot of like detective work that has been done to prove how disingenuous they were in their release and what they were saying about the game. I haven't gone through all of that because I didn't want to just constantly loom around this game that has been such a disappointment. I just wanted to wait for the time that it's going to actually be good, and I wanted to wait for the multiplayer update to maybe play against people in PvP or something like that. But I don't want to constantly circle around the controversy. So I don't know all the details about their disingenuous and controversial practice in there, but I refuse to believe that he's honest when he says that they have sent the review codes for console on December 8th just because they wanted to do anything else outside of obscure how the release was on, how bad the release was on console.
Which was later than we originally planned. This all happened while working from home with all the challenges resulting from the COVID-related restrictions. A lot of the dynamics.
Okay, why is this video bugging out?
8th of December, which was later lost over video calls or email, and we took that hit too. Now I'd like to tell you about our plans for the future and present a path for Cyberpunk 2077 on consoles and PC.
Okay, I think I've seen this before.
3 hotfixes improving the game, but that's just the beginning. Our ultimate goal is to fix the bugs and crashes gamers are experiencing across platforms. Please expect bigger and smaller patches on a regular basis. The first update will be dropping within 10 days, and it will be followed by another, more significant one in the following weeks.
Okay, so this video was released on the 13th of January, so I don't know how many patches was released since then. I think there were, for on console, there are at least 2 or 3 of them. But like I said, I'm not going to play the game right now or in the near future. I'm probably going to play it in 1 or 2 months or something when there is a dry period. Right now I want to play different games. But the fact that they have to release so many patches is also, again, a kind of like a bad sign for people, that they have to constantly read the patch notes and have to wait for the final and best possible version of the game for indefinite amount of time. That's also kind of disappointing.
We will, of course, continue to work on the game in future updates and improvements beyond that. Our big plans for supporting Cyberpunk in the long term did not change. As for the free DLCs, our initial plan
Okay, I
was
have
to
actually
just
seen
after
this.
the release, much like we did with The Witcher 3. We decided to focus on the most important fixes and updates first, and we'll be releasing the DLCs afterwards. Expect more.
Okay, maybe I'm a little bit confused here, but where is the multiplayer update in the roadmap? I think I've seen maybe a different version of this before. Anyway, the only time that I'm going to seriously play this game is when the multiplayer is released.
For those of you playing on next-gen consoles in back compatibility, you can still expect the free next-gen update for Xbox Series consoles and PlayStation 5 arriving in 2021. We are aiming at the second half of the year. I'd like to end this video by assuring you that we treat this entire situation very seriously and are working hard to make it right.
Yeah, okay, I can sympathize with him here. I can see that he's kind of like in a down mood and he's disappointed while he's saying this. I generally believe that he's probably a good guy. One of them, by the way, one of the people that work in the company have left recently. I don't know if it was this guy or some other, but overall, guys, like, when you see criticism about this game online, you have to be able to differentiate, in my opinion, between people that are just enjoying the drama and are just enjoying on bashing the game, against people that were disappointed but still want the game to eventually be good. But in my opinion, the reputation, like I said earlier, of the studio is damaged beyond repair. And the only way to really redeem themselves is at some point in the future to release another Witcher game, because Cyberpunk is not going to be a kind of like there is not going to be a redemption arc for this game like for No Man's Sky, for example. People are just going to be disappointed in the title, even as I'm speaking right now, a couple of months after the release, and I kind of doubt that the game is going to win a lot new fans. Probably in the future, when there is kind of like a discount, people are gonna buy it, they're going to play it for a while, then going to move on to something else, but they're not going to keep playing the game constantly as he's hoping for, and as people were expecting to be playing the game for a long time before release. So for all intensive purposes, the game is largely a fail, even at this point.
The guiding principles of our company are still core to what we do. We still want to make amazing games and have an open communication with you, our players.
Okay, yeah, this is my opinion on the state of Cyberpunk. It's amazing, really, how divisive this game is, and how even when there is a kind of like a good news, there is also mixed with a lot of disappointment. And I hope that some point this changes, but in the meanwhile, I'm just going to play other games and probably play Cyberpunk till the end in the future. But for now, I'm really not that interested in the title. And this is coming from a perspective of someone who likes the genre of video games, of Cyberpunk video games, but I don't know, I wasn't that impressed with Cyberpunk, even without its bugs and problems. Like, the game can be finished in a relatively short amount of time, guys, and it it doesn't really look like a game that I could play over and over again, even as a fan of the genre. Please let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I know that I was rambling for quite a while here, but I hope you liked the video, and I will see you guys in the next one, in which I'm going to talk about the Anthem. Take care. Thanks.